Fierbois have been setting the prairies on fire over the past couple of weeks as they toured with Prairie Debut. Now the duo returns to the Winnipeg stage with a program that spans the landscapes of Canada, which the duo themselves have experienced personally. Pianist Madeline Hildebrand has been away at her new post as an assistant professor at Memorial University in St. John's, and Caitlin has recently been making Toronto her home a little bit more frequently than usual, but both have had the good sense to return to Winnipeg to perform with the Women's Musical Club of Winnipeg. And ahead of that performance on Sunday, they join us in the Classic 107 studios. Nice to see you both.
Hi, Nolan.
Hi, nice to see you.
No, my gosh. So what's it like? Obviously, you both still have very, very deep ties to this community. Maybe I'll start here with you, Maddie. What is it like to return to a place to perform?
Well, this is still my home, and it feels like I'm just coming home. It feels very familiar, and I'm really looking forward to seeing such a vibrant, collection of my community at this concert and the Women's Musical Club, because I have been participating in their events since I was a child.
Right. Oh, of course.
It feels like coming home to perform for family, and so it's the most natural thing.
You're returning to perform, Caitlin, for a couple of different things, as a matter of fact. What's this like for you to be back here in Winnipeg to be a part of this musical community again?
Oh, well, it's great. I mean, what makes Winnipeg really feel like home, and probably always will, is these collaborations and the musical organizations and partnerships that I get to be a part of here. So, here I get to play with Maddie. We've played together for over a decade. It's always so great. And then in a couple days after that, I'll get to play with the Manitoba Chamber Orchestra, which I love and adore. So it's all
right.
good.
As part of the International Cello Festival of Canada, which we'll speak a lot more about in the coming days. But you both have not only been away from this place, from Winnipeg, but you've been away from each other. What's it been like to return to collaborating together on this tour with Prairie Debut and on this weekend's concert for the Women's Musical Club of Winnipeg? Maybe I'll throw that to you, Caitlin.
Sure. Well, we've had to do a little more practicing on our own these last few months. But I think that when we get together, it all comes together pretty easily. We have, as I said, we've played together a long time. And yeah.
What does time and space away maybe add to your collaboration, Maddie, that consistently performing together might not?
Oh, great question, Nolan. Well, we have had to be hyper efficient when we do meet up. So, for example, to prepare for our Prairie Debut tour, we had a day of rehearsals. Now, that being said, we weren't performing all new repertoire, right?
No.
So, with one day, we could get our new repertoire under our fingers. But I would say that in an effort to make that one rehearsal really effective, we have been preparing to a greater degree on our own because we don't have these check-in times, weeks before the performance. So I've been burning the midnight oil in my office,
making sure that you get ready. Yes.
Yeah. And but we learned so much. Let's say during COVID with our online presence, right, and how to collaborate. And so we actually have also had some really effective Zoom rehearsals where we don't necessarily play together, but we share musical ideas, melodic ideas, where places that we're going to be breathing or places where we're feeling like we need a little bit more time in the music. So it's been a new creative process for us, but it's been working. So
a new creative process and some new repertoire that perhaps the audience might not expect as well. The heart of this program that you're sharing this weekend is Oscar Peterson's Canadian Suite, which is something that maybe the piano lends itself a bit to more naturally, but the oboe is a fun little addition to something like the Canadian Suite. What's it like incorporating those kind of jazz-oriented sounds into your instrument, Caitlin?
Well, that's a great question. So oboe is not a very common jazz instrument. No. I find it a real challenge to play the oboe with the kind of sound and the approach to it that I like, that is me, and yet also sound appropriate for jazz, which is a million miles away stylistically. A Canadiana suite is sort of half jazz and half classical. I don't know, maybe jazz musician would disagree with that, but it seems to fit our style fairly naturally. A jazz musician friend of ours said, well, it's really great. You're not really playing jazz, but it sounds beautiful. So take from that what you will.
Right.
Wait a minute. I don't think I know who said that. We'll talk later.
That's quite the take, though, to be able to like say that this is it's part classical, part jazz, but this is something that can lend itself to some interpretation, which, as Fierbois does so well, you all take these pieces and then you very much make them your own. As we think back to your debut album release, Sing to Me Again, for example, what then, as you're looking at the Canadiana Suite, Maddie, what are you looking at and saying, here's what's going to make this the Fierbois edition?
Right. So what we're literally looking at is a score for piano solo that Oscar Peterson arranged. So the really popular recording of Canadiana Suite is with the Oscar Peterson Trio, so piano, drums, and bass. And then we're looking at an arrangement of a piano score. So what we have done with that is pick out the appropriate lines for Caitlin, and as my part is reduced because I'm taking out some of the melodic line, I actually have I do a little bit of improvising throughout to flesh out the chords. Yeah. So there is a little bit of improv involved, and if anybody would look at our score, they would say, what? How are you doing this? So, and then in addition to that, we did take it upon ourselves to transcribe some solos that you don't find in the musical score, but are in the recording.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's been a neat process, and one that's maybe not typical for a classical duo, but we really, at the heart of it, we just really wanted to play the work. So we had to find a way to make it work.
So then we're making it work. Yeah. As you go through these solos, which are often so improvisatory when it comes to jazz, Caitlin, what's it like then to put it down into notation, to codify this musical language, and then to try and bring it to life in the same way that like a through and through jazz musician might do?
Well, that's funny that you asked that, because little known fact, my first instrument was the saxophone, and I started learning jazz. And I didn't play the oboe or classical music until I was maybe 13 or something. But I never really learned to improvise on the saxophone. But what I did do was play from the Charlie Parker Omnibook, all of Charlie Parker's transcribed jazz solos. Did I play them great? I don't know. Probably not. But so now here I am kind of doing the exact same thing on oboe with Oscar Peterson's transcribed solo. So in that sense, it really brings me back. It feels kind of familiar. I really try to play a lot more from what I hear on the recording and imitating the style than really like exactly the notes on the page, because my as a classical musician, my understanding is that notated rhythm is somewhat of an approximation. So I try to just go by with what I hear. But come on, I'm not an expert here on jazz.
Well, and nor would maybe anybody expect you to be that, given the way that Winnipeg audiences have come to know what Fierbois does and what your take on this kind of a sound might be. As you've been journeying across the Prairie provinces with Prairie Debut these last couple of weeks, Maddie, what's been the reception to your take to the Canadiana Suite?
Oh, audiences love it. It's, I believe it was Stettler where the audience hooped and hollered.
Yeah, they love it. They love it.
In classic Prairie fashion, no doubt.
Yeah. And, when you hear this from an audience, for the listeners, I'll just say Nolan just did a beautiful response for
yes,
he was like, yes.
It's that response that it's very ambivalent and mellifluous, and you go, wait, what does that mean? Tell me if that's good or not. Like, why can't you just be direct with your praise or criticism?
Good, yeah.
Yes, well, right, and I'm sure that it is. As maybe I'll throw this question to the both of you, starting with you, Caitlin. What do you think that audiences hear in the Canadiana suite that you perform that they wouldn't hear if they were to turn on that iconic recording by the Oscar Peterson Trio?
Well, they're going to hear a sustained melody. That's a huge difference. And of course, Oscar Peterson's own playing is incredibly lyrical and melodic, but I mean, it's not the same as a wind instrument or a string instrument that sustains in quite a different way. And so we've taken these lines that Oscar Peterson would play with like one finger and turned them into a long singing line for oboe. I think it's a completely different texture, and it's quite beautiful.
Okay, so then you knowing the Women's Musical Club audiences as well as you do, Maddie, what do you think that they're going to take away from this exciting concert?
Oh, I think that Caitlin and I have a great exchange of energy on stage, and we make a point to talk about our pieces through a storytelling lens. And I would say that we always strive to do that in a really warm and relaxed way too. So some of the comments that we've received on our Prairie debut tour is audiences saying that they really appreciate the information that we share as well, because it makes the listening experience that much more rich. So we're going to share some repertoire, aside from the Peterson, we're going to share some repertoire by some composers that perhaps people haven't heard of before, but we're going to tie it all together in a way that we're going to take you on a beautiful storied journey.
A musical journey and tapestry that spans the country, just as you two have. We're so excited to have you both back in Winnipeg. Fierbois performing with the Women's Musical Club of Winnipeg at 2 o'clock on October 26th. That is Sunday at the Laudamus Auditorium at Canadian Mennonite University. We'll have more information on this later on this morning at classic107.com and the Classic 107 app. Fierbois, Caitlin Broms-Jacobs, and Maddie Hildebrand, thank you so much for joining us in the Classic 107 studios again.
Thanks, Nolan.
Thank you.